Northwest MLS announced several rules and forms revisions that are effective October 1st. This video will review the revisions, the reason for the changes, and also answer some frequently asked questions. There are two rule revisions effective October 1st. The first will allow members and subscribers to publish the Selling Office Commission and Selling Office Commission comments field on their public IDX and VOW websites. In addition, the Selling Office Commission and Selling Office Commission comments field will be added to client reports in Matrix and also to the client portal system in Matrix. The second revision removes the requirement that each listing contain an offer of compensation to the buyer's broker. If the seller decides not to offer a selling office commission, the rule provides that the buyer and the buyer's broker can negotiate for compensation as a part of the buyer's offer. There were several reasons behind the change allowing members to publish the amount of selling office commission. First, it allows brokers to more efficiently provide buyers with additional information at the outset of the transaction. Brokers could always share the amount of the selling office commission with their clients. This change allows them to do so more efficiently. Second, the change provides for complete transparency with regard to buyer's broker compensation. Third, the revision helps consumers to make informed decisions about every component of listing, selling, and purchasing real estate. And finally, the change gives buyer's brokers an opportunity to discuss their value proposition with their buyer clients. There were several reasons behind the change to remove the requirement that the seller offer compensation to the buyer's broker in every listing. First, it allows for greater flexibility for sellers when listing property, while affording buyers and buyer's brokers a vehicle for negotiating for compensation if the seller decides to offer none in the listing. Second, the change allows member real estate firms to continue to innovate and evolve their business models to better serve consumers, both buyers and sellers alike. And finally, it's worth noting that sellers have always been able to determine the level of compensation they want to offer the buyer's broker for procuring a buyer. Northwest MLS will make a change to the listing agreement that relates to these rule revisions. A reference to RCW 1886-050-1E2 will be added to the form. That statute provides that buyer's brokers are not required to show property for which there is no written agreement to pay compensation to the buyer's broker. The reason this will be added is because sellers in Washington State need to be aware of the legal consequences of not offering a selling office commission in the listing. The new sentence will be added in the commission paragraph just after the sentence where the seller decides the amount of compensation to offer to a selling firm. Next, there will be changes to Form 41C, which relates to the selling firm commission. This is an addendum to the purchase and sale agreement where, if there is no selling office commission offered in the listing, the form will allow the buyer and buyer's broker the opportunity to negotiate for compensation from the seller. Second, consistent with current Northwest MLS Rule 104D, the form allows the buyer and buyer's broker the opportunity to negotiate for additional compensation from the seller where the selling office commission is less than the buyer's obligation to the broker in a buyer representation agreement. If a buyer and their broker enter into a buyer's representation agreement and the buyer agrees to compensate the broker a certain amount and the selling office commission is less than that amount, Rule 104D allows the buyer and their broker the opportunity to negotiate for additional compensation from the seller. Finally, Form 41C will allow the buyer and buyer's broker the opportunity to negotiate for compensation when buying a property that is not listed a for sale by owner property. Next, buyer representation agreements. The use of these forms may increase and may become more important with these rule revisions that are effective October 1st. Northwest MLS has always encouraged members to use these forms, and there are many good reasons, in addition to compensation, to use a buyer representation agreement. Northwest MLS will be revising Form 41A, the buyer agency agreement, and Form 41B, the buyer representation agreement, no agency, to make them more user-friendly. There will not be many substantive changes to the forms, but the revisions will make the forms easier to use. And now for some frequently asked questions. Do brokers need to revise or update current listing agreements on October 1st? No. If a seller signed a listing agreement before October 1st, there's no reason to update to the new form. Should the new listing agreement be used for listings signed on or after October 1st? Yes, after October 1st, brokers should use the new listing agreement. What factors did Northwest MLS consider when making these changes? Northwest MLS considered many factors, including the effect of the changes on its member real estate firms, its broker subscribers, the effect of the changes on consumers. Northwest MLS also considered 3 class action lawsuits that were filed against the industry earlier this year. Also, discussions by the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission regarding the status of competition in real estate, and including the idea of parity, and that is, if a consumer can walk into a brick-and-mortar real estate firm and get information from a broker, for example, information about commissions, the consumer should also be able to go to a real estate firm website and get that same information. Finally, does Northwest MLS expect significant changes in business practices on October 1st? Generally, no. Northwest MLS expects business as usual. There may be more brokers using the buyer agency agreement, and there may be a handful of listings where the seller decides not to offer compensation to the buyer's broker, but generally speaking, Northwest MLS expects member business practices to generally remain the same. For more information on these changes, please review Northwest MLS's website, where you can find Legal Bulletin 217, some additional frequently asked questions and answers to those questions, and you can also review the revised forms. If you have additional questions, please discuss these issues with your designated broker or branch manager. Thank you for watching this video relating to Northwest MLS rules and forms revisions effective October 1st.